What if everything you've been told about humanity's final frontier is only half the story? What if the stars aren't just waiting to be explored, but waiting to be claimed, colonized, and defended with weapons you've never seen on the nightly news? Tonight, in the next 9 minutes, I'm going to pull back the curtain on a place most people still think is a punchline. The United States Space Force. But by the time we're done, you will realize it is one of the most important and most secretive branches of the military on Earth. You'll walk away knowing things that 99% of Americans don't. Things Cadets at a legendary academy are already training to execute. Things that could decide whether humanity's future is written among the stars or ends in fire. Right here on the ground. Stay with me. Look up on any clear night. Those points of light feel eternal, untouchable, peaceful. But right now, as you're reading this, there are young men and women barely old enough to rent a car who are learning how to fight wars in a place with no up or down, no air, no mercy. They don't wear spacesuits to class. They wear the same uniforms you've seen on Air Force pilots for decades. But make no mistake, they are not training to fly F-35s over oceans. They are training to command satellites that can blind an enemy nation in seconds, to maneuver squadrons of drones that orbit at 17,000 miles an hour to grow food on Mars. And yes, if necessary, to stop another country from turning low Earth orbit into a shooting gallery that would knock civilization back to the 1800s overnight. Welcome to Colorado Springs, home of the United States Air Force Academy and now the single largest pipeline of officers into the newest branch of the armed forces, the United States Space Force. Inside a secure building most civilians will never enter. A cadet no older than 21 sits in front of a bank of screens. His Calcium tonight is simple. FalconSat -7. On his monitor is a live feed from a satellite the size of a loaf of bread, orbiting 400 miles above your head right now. With a few keystrokes, he checks its health, uploads new instructions, and downloads raw data that could belong to weather forecasting or missile tracking. Everything looks perfect. Nominal pass, he says into his headset, trying to soundboard, but his eyes betray him. Because he knows this isn't a science fair project. And one day soon, he'll be the one deciding whether it blinds an adversary's reconnaissance constellation or quietly burns up over the Pacific so no one ever knows it existed. This is not science fiction. This is Tuesday morning. At the Academy, Colonel Luke Soder commands the astronautics department here. He doesn't talk like a man selling a dream. He talks like a man who's already seen the war nobody wants to admit is coming. Space is woven into everything we do, he says. Voice flat, matter of fact. Your cell phone. Your bank account. The weather app you checked this morning. Take away our satellites, and the modern world stops. In 72 hours. Now ask yourself, if something is that valuable, will everyone play nice forever? History says no. That's why we exist. He's not wrong. There are already weapons in orbit that can nudge a satellite just enough to ruin its mission forever. There are ground-based lasers that can blind American imaging satellites in a single burst. There are killer satellites disguised as inspectors that can sidle up to one of our billion-dollar birds and rip its solar panels off. Like a predator tearing into prey. Most of this is still classified. But the cadets know. And they're not just learning how to fight in space. They're learning how to live there. Deep inside one of the Academy's labs, a fourth-class cadet tends to a tray of mushrooms growing under red light. She's trying to create a strain that thrives in Martian soil with almost no water. Across the hall, another cadet plants mustard seeds in a gel that mimics lunar regolith soil that hasn't seen rain in 4 billion years. Their goal isn't a blue ribbon at the county fair. Their goal is to make sure that when we finally plant a flag on another world, we don't starve while we're doing it. They train in the Vomit Comet, plunging toward Earth in a converted airliner to feel 30 seconds of weightlessness at a time. They train underwater in full scuba gear, because neutral buoyancy is the closest we can get on this planet to moving in a spacesuit. They take classes with titles like Space Warfighting and Orbital Mechanics and Combat Applications, and when they graduate, Roughly 1 out of every 10 will pin on the distinctive silver globe and delta insignia of the Space Force. 10%. That's more future Guardians than any other school on Earth. But here's what almost no one outside these walls understands yet. The Space Force isn't preparing for a war that might happen someday. They're preparing for a war that has already started quietly, invisibly, constantly. Every single day, foreign satellites drift a little too close to ours. Every week, someone on the other side of the planet tests a new anti-satellite weapon. And every night, a few dozen American officers, many of them still in their 20s, sit in underground bunkers and decide how to respond without starting. World War III, at 25,000 feet per second. The cadets know the stakes. One of them, James Ferenc Cadet. First class, already slated for Space Force, puts it bluntly. My mom always told me I was set apart before I was born. I didn't know what that meant until I got here. This isn't just a job. This feels like a calling. He says it with the calm certainty of someone who has stared into the void and realized the void is staring back, armed. So the next time you look up at a perfectly peaceful sky, remember this. There is an invisible battlefield up there right now. There are young warriors training to defend it, and there's a thin silver line of satellites and the people who control them standing between the world. We know, in a darkness most of us still refuse to imagine, humanity is becoming a spacefaring species, whether we're ready or not. The only question left is who writes the rules out there, and who's willing to fight to enforce them. The sky is no longer the limit. For a quiet cadre of American cadets, it's just the beginning. And now you know what they know.